to Mad About Madison. I'm your host, Katie Dedzik. Get ready to swing into the jungle this weekend because Madison High School is performing Disney's Tarzan. Now, I recently stopped by a rehearsal to talk to two of the lead actors about how to bring the jungle to life.
My name's Justin Perdue. I am Tarzan in the play and I am in 10th grade.
Tarzan, what are you doing? Hang back!
What do you think kind of connects you to the character of Tarzan in this musical specifically?
In this musical, me and Tarzan, I feel like we're basically the same person. I'm wild, he's wild, and
I was raised by apes, he was raised by apes.
Exactly.
And so I hear you are a new student. You transferred here, right?
I came from Avon, Indiana.
What's it like just coming to a school and just immediately getting a lead?
I was really taken aback when I did get the lead, and everyone here has just been so great to me, so I'm really glad for that.
What has been the most difficult part about your rehearsal process?
The most difficult part would probably be just remembering all the lines. I don't have a ton, but this is still new to me, so there's still a couple lines that I still struggle with a little bit, but I keep doing them every single night and trying to get it down.
You may not. Maybe we can swing them. When he threw me off, I know there was a little but
Tarzan. My name is Saffron Nicholson. I'm a senior, and I've been doing theater since my freshman year.
What part do you play in the musical?
I play the role of Kala, and I'm the mom of Tarzan.
We mentioned how you have to do the monkey walks, actual apes.
Yeah.
Do you do that in dancing?
Yeah. I have to, as being an ape, we have to be in the position at all times, and it's like a squat, so it hurts really bad. That's probably one of the hardest parts, staying in character, down on your knees. But yeah, the dancing's all monkey movements. This play has a lot more physical, dancing and throwing yourself and flips and stuff. So I think that's probably one of our most challenging things of the play, but it's also it's having a good time. Everyone's having a good time, so.
What surprises can we expect from this musical? That without giving too much away.
Probably all the tricks that we have up our sleeves and how we're going to be looking like things are happening, but really we're just making it look like it's really happening, but it's really not. So I think just our sick tricks and dance moves that everyone's going to be surprised of how talented everybody is in this cast. So, yes.
Tarzan is directed by Mr. Aaron Kelsey and will be performed March 1st through March 3rd at the North Madison Christian Church. Performance times are Friday and Saturday nights at 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at the door for $15 per adult and $10 per student. Up next, it's Tuesday. You go out on your porch and you think, well, where's my newspaper? Well, in case you haven't heard, there have been a few changes made at the Madison Courier. We'll hear more about that after a quick break. The Madison Courier has been delivered to Madison residents Monday through Saturday for decades. However, recently, our local paper has made some drastic shifts in how they bring us our local news. Mad About Madison producer Lori Hedges sat down with publisher Kurt Jacobs to learn more about what we can expect in the months to come.
The Madison Courier was founded in 1837 by a man named Gray, was his last name. So he owned it in 1849, and in 1849 Madison was going through a cholera epidemic, and he was getting nervous, apparently, about this epidemic. My great-great-great-grandfather, who we called Colonel Garber, Michael Christian Garber, owned a dry goods store, you know, which was at that time like a grocery store, kind of had a little bit of everything, in Rising Sun. Somehow they got together and they traded. So, and Michael Garber, I always tell this, had I think a great line in his journal that said, "I've just traded for a business of which I know nothing about, but I expect a man can do one thing as well as another." So anyway, they traded businesses, and Michael Garber came to Madison. He very quickly was befriended by Jesse Bright, who was a very influential United States Senator. And he was a Democrat, as was Michael Garber. That friendship didn't last very long because they differed on some views, most strikingly slavery. Garber was opposed to slavery, Bright was in favor of it. So Bright got Garber kicked out of the Democratic Party, and then Bright also started his own newspaper to try to compete and put the Courier out of business. That didn't work. It's a very dramatic time. At one point, Bright's paper, the editor of his paper, and Garber got in an altercation, and the editor of Bright's paper actually stabbed Colonel Garber, and he almost died. So it was very, tumultuous time. In the end, Michael Garber lived to sit in the gallery of the Senate and watch the Senate censure Jesse Bright, kick him out of the Senate. Garber went on to serve in the Union Army as a quartermaster, and so he was the first publisher from our family of the paper, publisher and editor. He was also postmaster for a time here in Madison. And then as he got older, when he passed on, he handed the reins to his son, and who was also named Michael Garber. So it's a little hard to keep the history straight. And then that Michael Garber passed it on to his son, who was also named Michael Garber. So since our family has owned it in 1849, A. Michael Garber was really headed the ship here until I think in the early 1950s, when the third Michael Garber, which would be my great-grandfather, became ill, and he spent the last, 8 or 10 years of his life in an iron lung. And at that point, when he got sick, was when my grandfather, Don Wallace, took the reins of the paper. He married into the family, so my grandmother was a Garber descendant in any way. Don married into the family, became publisher. He was publisher until my mother became publisher in 1989 upon my grandfather's death. And then I took over when my mom passed away in 2015. So that's sort of the family lineage, of the Courier. The Courier was a weekly until Michael Garber took over. And I'm not sure, and then he turned into a daily. So like when I was a kid, it was, afternoon, Monday through Friday, and even Saturday wasn't delivered. It was delivered earlier than the weekdays, but it wasn't a morning. And so, so that would have been the 1970s, maybe 1980s. Even Saturday was early, like noon. You'd get your papers at noon as a carrier and deliver them. Sometime in the 1980s, I believe, they took Saturday to a morning paper. And then in the 90s, we moved earlier during the week. So the weekday paper used to come out, say, off the press at 1:30, I believe it was. And then sometime in the mid-90s, we moved that back to 11:30, so it came out earlier in the day.
Recently, you implemented some really big changes concerning how things are done. Can you tell us what those changes are?
So Two major changes for the Madison Courier. One, going to 3 days a week publication from the 6th day. Like I said, I mean, it had been 6th day as far as I know all my life, and you know, maybe since Colonel Garber. I don't know if they were 6th then or what. So it had been 6th day for quite a while, and we decided to go to 3 day. So that's one huge change for us. You know, that really changes the dynamic of how you gather the news and put it out there in the print. And then the other big thing was the Madison Couriers, we had our own carrier force. We had independent contractors, both youth and adult carriers who delivered our paper. And we got away from that and went to the Postal Service delivered our paper. So, you know, both of those decisions were precipitated, I would say, just by, you know, the way people consume news now. If you look at the 3 day, we made that decision for a couple reasons. One is, you know, with modern technology, we were already kind of in a way scooping our own paper. In other words, rarely would you get the paper over the last few years and find out something that you absolutely didn't know happened if it was a big news event. Because, you know, we had put it on either online or on social media, as had other outlets too. So because of that, because of our ability to report online, we felt like we didn't need to put out 6 print editions to keep people informed. And in order to do the web better, you know, we kind of had to quit putting out 6 editions, because if you're feeding the print edition 6 days a week, we just don't have the resources then to, you know, to feed the web at the same time. So we think this will lead to a better news presentation. We think it'll take a while, you know, for us to get using those 2 platforms, you know, really well together, to integrate them well. But I think in the end, it'll be, people will be better informed. In rough terms, the way we see it, you know, the web will be more breaking news. You know, we'll get that news out there. It might not be as complete. You know, as a newspaper, we want it to be accurate, even on the web, even though it's quick. So we may not be as fast as some, but I think we'll be, you know, our hope is that when you see it online from the Courier, what we put out there is accurate. That's very important to us. And then the print edition, we think, can provide more depth to those stories. It can provide the background. It can provide the details that sometimes you can't get out online right when it happens. So, for example, in the past, if we would report, let's just say a government meeting, a city council meeting, when our reporter would go to a meeting, they would write that story up either maybe that night or the next day, and it'd be in the next day's print edition. Now, they'll at least write a short synopsis and put it online the night of the meeting. You know, then when you get the print edition, it's going to have more of the background and more of the detail about, you know, about anything significant that happened.
A year from now, what are you hoping will develop as a result of these changes?
Hopefully it becomes a tool, you know, to use the 2 platforms together for people. And I hope people get used to that. I know some readers, particularly our older readers, but some readers of any age, don't gravitate, you know, towards the electronic. You know, and vice versa. You have people that prefer one platform over the other. But hopefully they can put them together enough to stay informed and be informed. You know, one thing we will do that's been a question is, will we, you know, put up a paywall or restrict access to the website? And I mean, we will have to do that at some point. That doesn't mean that people won't still be able to get a lot of information for free. They will, but I'm sure, you know, sometime before the year's up, you know, we'll have to do that. You know, we have to, you know, we have to be able to pay for it somehow, you know, to do the work. So, I mean, it's just a reality.
Well, the New York Times, they allow you to access, like, I think it's 3 stories or 10 stories, I don't know, in a month, and after that you have to subscribe.
Yeah, and that's what's called a paywall, and I assume that it'll be something similar to that. That's the most common model that media outlets are using today. And we haven't looked into the detail of that, but it'll be something like that. And I know that's not welcomed by a lot of people, and I understand that, and we'll just have to cross that bridge as best we can, and we want to provide a good service at what we think is a fair price. And like I said, the bottom line is, to do this kind of journalism, I mean, you have to pay people, and if you don't, at some point you won't have it.
It's funny because people think that writers and photographers should just do it for, oh, the goodness of their heart.
I know. Oh yeah, can I just get a copy of that picture? Can you? They don't understand. I mean, you can put, as a newspaper publisher, you can put a price on every story and every picture, and they do cost money, and to do it well, it does cost money. The people that we've had in our newsroom over the years, you included, I have great respect for. It's hard work. It's hard work to make sure that what you're putting out there is accurate, and a lot of people don't understand what care goes into that. And the people that we have in our newsroom now and the people that have worked for us over the years are very dedicated to that. And I know in this era of fake news, people question that a lot. Now, in like any industry, there's problems, and you don't always get it right. Sometimes you try very hard to get it right, and you still make mistakes. And all I know to do, what we try to do here, is own up to those mistakes. We try to correct those, tell people we made a mistake, and do it better next time.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add about what's going on around down here?
It's a big change for us. Our schedules are thrown up in the air, and we don't have all the moving parts that go in the paper figured out. I think it'll be an evolution. We really want people to give us feedback, and we'll take any feedback, positive or negative, as long as it's constructive. And I would say the reaction so far has been very supportive. A lot of people have told us they like a lot of things about it. People have told us about things they don't like, and we've already listened to some of that and changed a few things. And our intent down the road is to keep listening and to keep trying to just put out the best local news product we can.
Well, that's all for this edition of Mad About Madison. I'm so glad you could join us, and once again, I'm your host, Katie Dudzik. We'll see you next time.